You know, when people hear the word avoidant, they often imagine someone cold, distant, maybe even uncaring, but here's the truth most people miss. Avoidants aren't avoiding love, they're avoiding pain. They're not running from connection. They're running from the fear of losing themselves in it. And underneath that armor, there's a part of them quietly hoping someone will see past the walls without trying to bulldoze them. Because here's the secret, avoidants crave intimacy just like anyone else. They just want it in a way that feels safe for them. They want someone who doesn't confuse closeness with control. They want to feel free and connected at the same time. They want the space to come toward you instead of feeling chased into a corner. See, they're not allergic to love. They're allergic to the pressure that often comes with it, and when you understand that, everything changes. You stop trying to break their walls, and you start showing them they don't need them around you. Here's the paradox. The more you let them breathe, the closer they want to be. The less you push for instant vulnerability, the more they open up on their own. An avoidant doesn't want someone who tries to fix them. They want someone who accepts them, while still inspiring them to grow. So if you've ever loved an avoidant, remember their distance isn't the opposite of desire. Sometimes it's the clearest sign they want connection. They just want it to feel like choice, not obligation. And when they find that person, they don't just let you in, they keep you there. Avoidants avoid pain, not love. When they pull away, it's rarely because they don't care. It's because caring feels dangerous to them. Getting close has always carried a risk, the risk of being hurt, misunderstood, or losing themselves in someone else's needs. They've learned to protect their heart by creating space, and that space isn't empty. It's filled with their thoughts, their fears, their longing for safety. Avoidants crave connection just like anyone else, but they crave it in a way that doesn't threaten their sense of self. They want to know they can be close without feeling trapped. They want the freedom to move toward you at their own pace. When they sense pressure, their instinct is to retreat because pressure feels like danger. But when they feel accepted, something changes. The walls don't come crashing down instantly, but cracks appear. And through those cracks, real moments of vulnerability can slip in. An avoidant loves in a way that can seem subtle, almost hidden. They might not always say the words first. They might not pour their heart out right away, but they show their care in small, deliberate actions. The text they send after thinking about you all day. The way they remember something you said weeks ago. The quiet moments when they let their guard down, even just a little. What they're really looking for is trust that you won't demand their whole world at once. Trust that you won't punish them for needing space. Because the truth is, the more you respect their boundaries, the more they feel drawn to you. When love feels like choice instead of obligation, they lean in. When affection comes without strings, they feel safe to give more. Avoidants aren't afraid of love itself. They're afraid of losing the version of themselves they fought so hard to protect. And when you show them they can have both closeness and independence, they begin to realize love doesn't have to cost them their freedom. They start to see that intimacy doesn't have to mean sacrifice. It can mean partnership. It can mean being truly seen and still allowed to be exactly who they are. And for someone who has spent so long guarding their heart, that is the rarest and most precious thing they could find. Their distance is often self-protection, not disinterest. When they step back, it's not always because they've lost feelings. It's because the closeness has started to feel overwhelming. For them, too much emotional intensity can feel like standing in a room with the walls slowly closing in. They need space to breathe, to think, to regain their balance. This isn't about not caring. It's about keeping themselves from feeling swallowed whole. They've learned, often from painful experiences, that getting too close too quickly can lead to losing control. And control is their safety net. It's what keeps them from feeling vulnerable in a way that scares them. Their retreat is a shield, not a door closing forever. In that distance, they're often sorting through their feelings, trying to make sense of them without being swept away. They might replay conversations in their mind, questioning what they revealed and how it was received. They might be testing if their absence will be respected or punished. because if you punish their space, it confirms their fear that intimacy comes with a cost they're not ready to pay. If you respect it, you show them something they don't often see, that connection can exist without control. The truth is, their heart is still engaged even when their body steps back. They notice the little things you do, even if they don't always respond right away. They care about your words, your feelings, and your well-being, even in moments of silence. They're simply navigating the fine line between connection and self-preservation. To you, their pause might feel like rejection. To them, it's survival. And ironically, the more you allow that survival instinct to run its course without trying to force them closer, the safer they feel with you. Because when they realize they can have space without losing your presence, they start to understand that love doesn't have to mean suffocation. It can mean choice. It can mean freedom. And in that freedom, they begin to move toward you, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. They start to share more, not because you demanded it, but because you gave them the room to decide it was safe. Their distance was never proof they didn't care. It was proof they were trying to protect something fragile inside them. Something they might one day be ready to share if they know it will be handled with patience and care. They want intimacy that feels safe, not suffocating. To them, closeness should feel like a warm embrace, not a tight grip. They crave connection, but they also crave room to breathe. When love starts to feel like a cage, even the most genuine affection can become overwhelming. Safety, for them, means knowing they can be themselves without constantly having to explain or defend who they are. It means being able to share their thoughts and emotions without fear of being judged, rushed, or smothered. They long for a relationship where vulnerability is welcomed but never demanded, where affection flows naturally, not as a test or a transaction. They want a partner who understands that love isn't measured by constant contact or endless conversation, but by the quality of the moments you share. They feel most connected when their boundaries are respected. When someone trusts them enough to let them come closer in their own time, instead of pulling them in before they're ready. Because for them, pressure doesn't build connection, it builds resistance. The safer they feel, the more they want to open up. And when they do, it's not halfway. It's with a depth and sincerity that comes from knowing they're truly accepted. Safe intimacy allows them to let down their guard, even if just a little at first. It reassures them that they won't lose their independence in the process of getting close. They don't want to choose between love and freedom, they want both. They want to know they can lean on someone without feeling like they have to give up the ground they stand on. The idea of safe to them isn't about avoiding challenges in a relationship. It's about knowing that the challenges can be faced without manipulation, ultimatums, or control. They value a connection where silence isn't seen as disinterest and space isn't mistaken for rejection. Because when they feel safe, their natural instinct to protect themselves begins to soften. Walls that once felt unshakable start to lower, not because someone broke them, but because they no longer need them. And in that space of trust, intimacy stops being something to guard against and starts being something to look forward to. They want love that feels like an open field, not a locked room, a place where they can move freely, knowing they're still wanted and valued exactly as they are. Freedom and connection are equally important to them. They don't want to live in a world where they have to choose one over the other. To them, love should feel like the perfect balance between closeness and independence. They value the bond that comes from being emotionally connected, but they also value the space that allows them to breathe and be themselves. When they feel free, they are more willing to connect, and when they feel connected, they are more willing to give freedom. It's not about keeping people at arm's length. It's about knowing that their individuality won't be lost in the process of loving someone. They need to feel they can have a partner without losing their own voice, their own passions, and their own pace. Because the moment connection starts to feel like a trap, their instinct is to pull away. They don't see space as the opposite of love. They see it as the oxygen that keeps love alive. The ability to move, think, and feel without constant supervision or expectation is what allows them to stay emotionally invested. If they sense that love comes with invisible chains, no matter how beautiful the words are, they will slowly drift away. But when they see that connection can exist without control, they begin to relax. They start to lean in, not out of duty, but out of desire. They are drawn to relationships where both people can be whole on their own and still choose to be together. Because to them, the most beautiful thing about love is when it's chosen freely, not forced. When they know they have the freedom to step back without the fear of punishment, they feel safer stepping forward. And when they do, their connection deepens naturally. They don't just share their time, they share their thoughts, their feelings, and their trust. The balance of freedom and connection allows them to feel alive in a relationship instead of confined. They want to wake up every day knowing they are loved for who they are, not for how closely they can cling. They want a bond that feels secure even in silence, and a love that can hold steady even when there's distance. Because when they have both the safety of connection and the breath of freedom, that's when they give the deepest, most enduring part of themselves. They open up when they feel unpressured. For them, trust doesn't grow in a rush. It grows slowly, like a seed that needs time, warmth, and patience before it breaks through the soil. The moment they sense urgency or demand, they retreat, not because they don't care, but because pressure feels like a threat to their emotional safety. They want to know that their feelings are valued, not extracted, that their words are heard, not pulled out of them. When they feel free to share at their own pace, they start revealing the layers that usually stay hidden. They might begin with small details, a passing thought, a memory, a quiet admission, and if those moments are met with understanding instead of interrogation, they share more. They've learned from experience that rushing vulnerability often leads to regret. So they test the waters first. They want to see how you respond to the small truths before they hand you the bigger ones. When there's no pressure, they can think clearly. They can sort through what they feel without the fear of being judged or misunderstood. It's in that space of ease that their guard starts to lower. The conversation shifts from polite exchanges to genuine confessions. They begin to talk about what matters to them, their dreams, their fears, their private thoughts. And each time they're met with acceptance, the door opens a little wider. They start to believe that closeness doesn't have to mean losing control, that being known doesn't have to mean being consumed. The more they feel unpressured, the more they want to be near you, because your patience tells them something powerful, that you're not here to force intimacy, you're here to build it. They see that you value the connection enough to let it unfold naturally. And in return, they give you something rare, their unguarded self, not because you demanded it, but because you made it safe for them to offer it. That kind of trust isn't built in one moment. It's built in every moment where they're allowed to be themselves without fear of losing your care. When they feel unpressured, they don't just open up, they stay open, and when they stay open, the connection becomes something far stronger than anything that could be forced. It's no longer about coaxing them out of their shell. It's about walking beside them as they step out on their own, because in a world where so many push, pull, and demand, the one who waits patiently becomes unforgettable, and that's the person they will choose to trust, to love, and to let in fully and without hesitation.